Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. Earlier this week, I was leading a workshop. I was co-leading a workshop with my buddy Matt, and we were talking through how to manage our schedules, how to kind of use our technology to our advantage, and some of the pitfalls with always being on. Right, when we don't build in time in our schedule to pause or think, then we're not being very strategic. We're just kind of responding. And unfortunately, that response is sort of addicting. So we get stuck in this pattern. And Matt actually shared something that I'd never heard before, and it just struck me. He asked the question to the group of people. He said, do you put your phone to bed, or does your phone put you to bed? And in our busy worlds, we are always on. We are always on the go, or we are always on. Right? Most of us, we end the day scrolling through things like Twitter or maybe our favorite news source. So the last thing that we see is all the stuff that's happening in the world. Some of us are catching up on the day, and we're just checking emails, maybe looking at the calendar for the next day. Some of us are even doing mindless things like scrolling through TikTok videos or reading Reddit forums or threads or whatever it is. We're usually on right until the moment that we're not. And a lot of us struggle to fall asleep because of that. So we're always on the go. And even this year, I set for myself a goal. I don't do it perfectly, but I set for myself a goal of after 10 p.m., I shut down the social media life, and I try not to look at it first thing in the morning. So it's supposed to be 10 p.m. to 10 a.m., and you hear a lot of try. It's something that I'm aspiring to, but it's very difficult. And because we crave that. That's one of the reasons I want to limit it, is because I want to crave the right things. I want to crave calm and peace and stillness. And I'm talking about this because we're in our series called Beautiful Things, and today's message is all about finding that calm, building in a peace and a stillness time, so that when we're on, we're better. We're more on than when we are just on all the time. And in her book, Brene Brown, in the book Power of Vulnerability, Brene Brown talks a lot about the need for us to cultivate calm and stillness. Otherwise, we are just always caught up in the rat race. And in that rat race, we are just in response mode. We're not very thoughtful. We're not very authentic of ourselves. And we don't slow down enough to see what's going on in the lives of the people around us, and really how we're engaging with the world around us. So, none of those things that I talked about right before bed are necessarily bad. They're just bad at that time of day. That it's the last thing we look at and the first thing we look at every single day. And what if the last thing we did was a little bit more peaceful? What if it was a little bit more still? What if we woke up and sat and just existed for a half a second? Or what if we built that into our days? And actually, this maps perfectly onto our faith. In fact, we talk a lot about like what would Jesus do, or who was Jesus and what models did he set for us. And being calm and still is actually one of the most Jesus-y things we could do. When you look at the Gospels, especially Mark does a great job of categorizing all the different times that Jesus is still, that Jesus gets away from crowds, that Jesus pushes pause on all the crazy important things he's doing, but to be away from either his disciples or maybe he and his disciples. I mean, every time that he makes a big decision, every time he talks to a group of people, he pulls away off after or before. And it's just such a habit of his life. And I think it's something we could learn and add into our lives. In fact, in Mark 6, verses 31 through 32, Jesus is preparing to feed the 5,000. And at the moment, he doesn't necessarily, it's not like, hey, guess what? We're going to do this, and then this whole crowd's going to show up. It was about to happen, but it was such a regular part of Jesus's life that he was prepared for this crowd to show up, for him to speak to that crowd, and for him to feed the 5,000. But before that, Jesus says, let's go off by ourselves to a quiet place and rest a while. He's talking to his disciples. He said this because there were so many people coming and going that Jesus and his apostles didn't even have time to eat. Right? They were just on the move. There was always people around. And he said, it's important for us to pull away and get some time to breathe, eat, think. And it goes on to say, so they left by the boat for a quiet place where they could be alone. Right after that, another crowd develops, and this feed the 5,000 moment happens. I just love that example of it, because when we have difficult decisions, maybe it's easier for us to pull away and say, I just need some time to think. I need some space. Or when we feel overwhelmed by that chaos, maybe finally we'll hit our breaking point and push pause. But Jesus shows that he doesn't know when the next crowd is going to come or when the next big decision happens, but he builds it regularly into either following a crowd or before the next crowd. He builds in calm and stillness. And so in this series of beautiful things, we've just been saying, like, one thing this week that you could do to live more deeper, richer, meaningful lives. Just do one thing in your faith this week that matches this week's conversation. And so this week it would be just look for space to be calm. Look for space for silence. Look for space for stillness. Like, just pause. Turn off the TV. Shut your phone down. Put do not disturb on. Do whatever you have to do to just build in time for pause, so that you can connect with God, so that you can prepare for all these awesome things in our lives, and that we don't miss them by if we take that time to build in, cultivate calm and stillness. Thanks for watching Faith in 5. If you like what you see, please like and share. If you're interested in making a donation to our ministry, please click the link below.